And away we go, episode 1297 of the Galdi podcast. It is Tuesday, April 7th, 2026, and the 2025-2026 college basketball season is over. And for the first time since 2000, a team in the Big Ten has won the NCAA tournament in men's basketball. Number 1 seeded Michigan beat number 2 seeded UConn 69-63 at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis on Monday night in the national championship game. First Big Ten team to win the NCAA tournament in men's basketball since Michigan State in 2000. Unless we count my team, Maryland, winning the 2002 NCAA tournament, but Maryland still was in the ACC at that time. Hello and welcome to this Tuesday installment of the Galdi podcast. We on the podcast have been getting great insight on significant players who the Washington Commanders have signed as unrestricted free agents this offseason. Next segment, I'll speak with Matt Verderame, host of the Matt Verderame Show, which is a very well-regarded Kansas City Chiefs podcast on Patreon. And Matt's going to tell us about 2 Chiefs unrestricted free agents who Washington has signed this offseason, linebacker Leo Chenal and edge defender Charles Omen. Terrific perspective on how each guy performed for the Chiefs, so the best usage of each guy and more. And also on the show, I'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. Each team on Monday won to improve to 4-6 in MLB's 2026 regular season, off being swept in a 3-game series over the weekend. The Nats, a 9-6 win over the St. Louis Cardinals at Nationals Park on Monday evening in a game in which the Nats overcame a 6-3 eighth-inning deficit by scoring 6 runs in the bottom of the 8th. So much to discuss with that game. The O's, a 2-1 win at the Chicago White Sox on Monday night. Before we get to feedback, did you see or hear what Kyle Brandt of NFL Network's Good Morning Football said on that show on Monday morning about Washington quarterback Jayden Daniels? I like Kyle Brandt. I think that he's smart and funny and insightful, and he had a good rant regarding our guy, Jayden Daniels, regarding JD5. Here you go.
Do you remember Jayden? Does anybody watching or listening or around here on the show, do we remember Jayden Daniels in his rookie year? Because what's happened here is that we just move on to the next thing. We move on to the hottest thing. And when I say we, I do it too. Caleb Williams was a sensation last year, and it's like we all forgot about Jayden Daniels. Do you understand that Jayden's rookie year was better than Caleb's second year in several important categories? His rookie year was better than Caleb's second year. This was not a nice rookie year. This was not a promising rookie. None of that nonsense. This was a prolific, historic rookie season in which we were handing him the keys to the castle and saying, you are the prince who was promised. And then poof, we haven't said his name on the show, I feel like, in a year. It's because his second year was really strange. His second year, he played 7 games. His second year, he played 3 games with Terry McLaurin on a Commanders team whose best offensive player was a 7th-round rookie. It was a bizarre season. But is that it? Are we going to be like, man, Jayden, he just got banged up with injuries. It was never the same after the rookie year. I choose to say no. And it's like he's like one of these TV shows that you check out for 1 season and then it goes away. Like, is Jayden Daniels the Westworld of quarterbacks? I don't think so. Is Jayden Daniels heroes? Save the cheerleaders, save the world, save the Washington, D.C.? Is he True Detective? Where it's like, I think that's the best season 1 I've ever seen. Ooh. And then season 2, it's like Taylor Kitsch is here and I don't know what the hell this is and it never gets back on the track. I don't think it's that. I think it's The Walking Dead. Prolific first season. What am I watching? Season 2 slows way the hell down. They're on this farm. It's glacial. It's on and on. But then it still becomes something massive and seminal. And I just feel like it's frustrating to me that the Jayden Daniels talk is about this big when what he did was historic, special, promising, and then he ran into injuries. So now we've all moved on, and it's Drake May, and it's Caleb, and all the other guys. And those guys are great. I celebrate those guys. But I don't have a short enough memory to not to forget about Jayden Daniels and what he did and what he can do. Weird season last year. Is that magic back? Was it just this little glimpse and gone? I don't think so. And I just think we should remember and not just move on that quickly because he was that big of a deal, Jayden Daniels.
Yeah, bravo, Kyle Brandt. Well said. Let us hope that Jaden Daniels is not Westworld. Hopefully Jaden Daniels is Breaking Bad or The Sopranos or The Americans or Ozark. You get the idea. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. I on X have gotten a lot of feedback to something that I posted this past Saturday morning in response to an item in a piece by NFL writer Mike Sando of The Athletic. The piece came out this past Friday. Headline, quote, NFL execs unfiltered on free agency thoughts on Kyler Murray, the bold Rams, and all NFC teams, and quote. The piece contained the following quote from an anonymous NFL executive on what the Washington Commanders have done this offseason. Quote, they are making a bunch of revolving door moves this year, which looks like a panic to me. It is going to depend on how the quarterback plays. He can save it all, end quote. No disagreement on the notion of so much of Washington's 2026 season depending on the QB1. Jaden Daniels says, yes, quote, he can save it all, end quote. But the anonymous NFL executive describing what Washington has done this offseason as, quote, panic, end quote, made zero sense to me. As I wrote in my post on X, quote, Washington in free agency addressed a number of needs and got younger and more athletic, and the team did so via a number of smart, team-friendly contracts. The team also extended its elite left tackle and re-signed its quality QB2. On what planet does that constitute panic? End quote. From Adam on X, writes Adam, I agree. Also, every team usually goes as its QB goes, not a panic situation at all. Thank you for that, Adam. From Billy Bob on X, writes Billy, no panic at all. The anonymous source is afraid of what Washington has done to improve that defense. Thank you for that, Billy. From Brett on X, writes Brett, zero panic moves this offseason. Thank you for that, Brett. From Juan on X, writes Juan, sounds like this exec may be Jerry Jones because he makes all the right moves. Said no one ever. Thank you for that one. From Johnny Skins fan on X, writes Johnny, sounds like a division rival is panicking about what AP is cooking up. Thank you for that, Johnny. Let AP cook. Now, I did get some pushback on me referring to Marcus Mariota as a, quote, quality QB2, end quote. From Quite Nice on X, writes Quite Nice, I wouldn't call the QB2 quality. He won 1 or 2 games last year. LOL. Thank you for that. Quite nice. From G-Dub on X, writes G-Dub, quality QB2 who can't throw over 10 yards. Thank you for that, G-Dub. Marcus Mariota is a quality QB2. We've seen that over what he has done over his 2 seasons as Washington's QB2. His record for last regular season being just 2-6 was a lot more about the team's horrible defense than anything else. And regarding him supposedly not being able to throw over 10 yards, the exact opposite is true. Mariota for the 2025 regular season per the NFL's next-gen stats had an average intended air yards of 10.2, ranking number 1 out of 42 NFL quarterbacks each with at least 135 pass attempts. Yeah, number 1. He, for last regular season, had a yards per completion of 12.19, which is great. Saying that he, quote, can't throw over 10 yards, end quote, is totally wrong. Like, is the precise polar opposite of what is factually correct. Show some respect to our guy, Marcus Mariota. Or is it Mariota? I don't know. Either way, show the man some respect.
Mariota.
Exactly. Thank you. NBC's Mike Tirico. Mariota. Hey, please consider subscribing to the podcast if you're not already doing that. Subscribing to the podcast costs nothing. Make sure that you never miss an episode and helps out the podcast a lot. And if you're already subscribing, thank you. The Washington Commanders' overhaul of their defense this offseason has included them signing 2 Kansas City Chiefs unrestricted free agents in linebacker Leo Chenal and edge defender Charles Omenihu. Washington on March 13th announced having signed Chenal and Omenihu. The contract terms per overthecap.com and spottrack.com. Chenal, a 3-year, $24.75 million deal with $12.4 million fully guaranteed at signing. Omenihu, a 1-year, $4 million deal with $3.3 million fully guaranteed at signing. Chenal is going into his age 26 season. Omen is going into his age 29 season. I am pleased to welcome back to the Al Galdi podcast, Matt Verderame, host of the Matt Verderame Show, which is a very successful Kansas City Chiefs podcast on Patreon. He is the co-host of an NFL podcast, That Football Show, on the KC Sports Network, and he is an NFL writer for SI.com. You can follow him on X at Matt Verderame, and Verderame is spelled Verderame. Hey, Matt, how are you?
Doing well. What's going on?
Good to talk to you. The Chiefs took Leo Chenal in the third round of the 2022 NFL Draft out of the University of Wisconsin. He, over 4 seasons with the Chiefs, played in 65 of a possible 68 regular season games and played in all 10 of the team's postseason games. What kind of a player was he for the Chiefs?
A good one, dependable one. Athletic, used a lot in coverage, used as a blitzer. Oftentimes sub-package player, really as a rookie in 2022 was mostly a special teamer. Although ironically played a huge role in their Super Bowl win against Philadelphia, was great. Nick, I'd argue it might be the best game he's ever played for the Chiefs. And then, 41% of the snaps each of the next couple of years. Came in, those 2 years, 23 and 24, Nick Bolton and Drew Tranquill were the starting backers, same as last year. But he got more and more run as time went on. Once Willie Gay left after the 2023 season, he played a little bit more of an important role. Last year was the first time he eclipsed 50% of the snaps. But he's a good player. A lot of Chiefs fans didn't want to lose him. Just a guy who's around the ball a lot. A great special teams player. I would argue probably the most meaningful, not meaningful, the most memorable play he made in Kansas City was a blocked field goal to win a game against Denver in 2024. He's just a good, solid football player who I think in a bigger role can be even a more impact player.
Why didn't Leo Chenal have a bigger role with the Chiefs?
Well, I think it was a kind of a combination of things. They play Nick Bolton every down. I mean, literally every down, which they shouldn't because you can't cover, but they play him every down. So he's on the field 100% of the time. Tranquill is a guy they really trust. He came in as a veteran from the Chargers. They gave him a 1-year deal. He was so good, they gave him a 3-year deal after that. This is going to be the last year of that, so he's played out the entire thing. And they don't usually play more than 2 linebackers on the field at once. They just don't. Like they are usually in nickel. They play a little dime, but a lot of times with the Chiefs, when they're in nickel, they play 4-2. They just don't do a whole lot of, they're a 4-3 team that a lot of times will take that extra backer off for the nickel defender. So if they're going to have 2 backers on the field, Bolton's always one of them. And Tranquill's going to be the other one more often than not. Now, last year there were some injuries and Chenal crossed over that 50% threshold. But a lot of times, if he was going to be on the field, it was going to be when they went to 3 linebackers, or it was going to be if they felt like they had a certain matchup that they really liked with him in coverage. But I think a lot of Chiefs fans felt like should have been on the field a lot more than Tranquill was. Most people felt like they should have let Tranquill walk this offseason and kept Chenal. They decided not to do that. Tranquill took a pay cut. But whenever he was on the field, he was an impact player for them. He did a nice job. And so I think he can be a 3-down linebacker. I really do. But I think he excels most against the pass because he can blitz and because he can drop into coverage and he can take on backs and tight ends and do a pretty good job.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what's the best usage of Leo Chenal?
Pass downs, coverage and blitzing. Not that he can't play the run. He's strong enough to be a point of attack defender, but he's really, look, even dating back to his days in Wisconsin, he was kind of a freak athletically. Like that was kind of his thing. And he's a guy who you can put him one-on-one with a back. You can put him one-on-one with a tight end. And really the first couple of years of his career, they didn't have him do that because the Chiefs had Willie Gay. And Willie Gay, while he couldn't play against the run, was a freak show in cover. I mean, he just could run with anybody. So the first couple of years they had Chenal, he sat behind Gay in that role, and then 2024, 2025, Tranquill could do that to some degree. I think last year kind of fell off, but I think that's the best way to play him. Outside backer, can blitz him on some snaps, but a lot of times let him cover somebody and let him open his hips and run. He's able to do that despite his size.
You mentioned the athleticism of Leo Chenal, just tremendous. He scored a 9.99 out of a possible 10 in Kentley Platty's relative athletic score metric. That ranked number 3 out of 2,410 linebacker prospects from 1987 through 2022. In what ways did you see that athleticism show up in games?
He just, I mean, there was a play, if Commanders fans want to kind of get an idea, go back and watch last year when they played Baltimore. And early in the game, he's in coverage. I think it was against a tight end. It could be wrong with that. It's tight end or back. I think it was Andrews. And he just like wheeled into coverage. And I'm getting a phone call. He wheeled into coverage and just turns around and intercepts the ball. Like he caught it like a tight end would catch the ball. And ironically, it's the only interception he ever had in Kansas City. But he was always good at being able to just turn and run with a guy and mirror him. And he didn't get to do it enough, in my opinion, in Kansas City because, look, Steve Spagnuolo loves his veterans and he loves Nick Bolton like a son, and he loves Drew Tranquill because Drew Tranquill came in with 5 years of experience. But, go back and watch it. Go watch, multiple times. Like, one of the really underrated things about him is on special teams. And usually you'd say, well, okay, fine, he's a special teamer. He helped them win Super Bowl 50, how many? There've been a lot of them now. 57 against the Eagles with his defensive play. He was awesome in that game. Super Bowl 58, he blocked an extra point. That was massive. It helped him get to overtime. Then last year, as I mentioned, or 2 years ago, in 2024, he blocked the field goal against Denver in the final seconds to preserve a 1-point win at Arrowhead. He just, like, when they needed somebody to jump and to make a play, like he blocked multiple kicks because he can run over guys, he can jump over guys, he can go around them. I mean, he's just a very unique player. You don't see guys at that size typically be able to do stuff like that. He did it on a regular basis.
You don't just talk and write about the Chiefs, you also talk and write about the NFL as a whole. What do you make of the role of the linebacker in the modern NFL? This is part of the conversation with Ohio State's Sonny Styles in the 2026 NFL Draft. Like Leo Chenal, an outstanding athlete, but like Leo Chenal, Styles plays a non-premium position in linebacker. At the same time, defenses now are more intricate. We're seeing guys used in a variety of ways to where positions are meaning less and less. Chenal can be used in a variety of ways. Where are we with the value of linebackers in the current NFL?
I think it's an underrated position, just like running back was 5 years ago. Everybody sat there and said, well, running backs, they don't matter. Well, how's that going? How many guys now have signed? Saquon Barkley and Christian McCaffrey and Derrick Henry, those guys have all gotten big contracts. They don't matter. Bijan Robinson's about to get paid a fortune. Kenneth Walker just got paid a ton of money. Travis Etienne just got paid money. Hall will get paid. I think it's all cyclical. I also think linebackers are going to matter more and more here as we're starting to see teams. Look, there is a clear trend. If you look at the numbers, teams are going now to more 2 tight end and 3 tight end sets. Well, who's going to be on the field more if you go to 2 and 3 tight end sets? Backers. That's who's going to match up with them. So you're going to see more of that as the run game. Offensive linemen are getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I wrote about this in SI like a month ago. These O lines are getting bigger. The D lines. A lot of these guys are getting smaller. They're built for speed, knife through the line. These edge rushers are 250, 255. These D tackles, some of these guys now are 290, 295. Or 15 years ago, those guys were 320, 330. Well, if you got an offensive line that averages 330 pounds and a D line that averages 265, you're just going to line up and run them right over, right? And so you need those backers. I actually think the off-ball backer is going to make a comeback in the league just because of the way the game's going. Everything is cyclical, and once these D linemen start getting bigger and you start seeing teams do more of that, then they'll start throwing it more again. It's the nature of the sport.
We're talking Leo Chenal and Charles Omenihu with Matt Verderame, host of the Matt Verderame Show, which is a big-time Kansas City Chiefs podcast on Patreon. Omenihu was taken by the Houston Texans in the 5th round of the 2019 NFL Draft out of the University of Texas. He played for the Texans for the 2019 season to the 2021 season, then was traded to the San Francisco 49ers on November 2nd, 2021, what was 2021 NFL trade deadline day. Washington general manager Adam Peters was the Niners assistant GM them when they traded for Omen. Omen played for the Niners for the rest of the 2021 season and for the 2022 season, signed with the Chiefs as an unrestricted free agent in March 2023 and played for him for the 2023 through 2025 seasons. Omen in the Chiefs' 17-10 win at the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC Championship game for the 2023 season on January 28, 2024, suffered a torn right ACL. Where is he at in his career right now?
He was, so in 2023 when he first came to the Chiefs, he was fantastic. Like, he was a big part of them winning the Super Bowl. He got hurt in the playoffs. He hurt in the AFC title game. You mentioned the torn ACL. He did it in Baltimore. He came back late in 2024, played 6 games, and just really wasn't right. Like, it was just, like, to give him credit, he tried. He played hard, but you could just tell, like, he wasn't really back. And, he had 1 sack and 1 quarterback hit in 6 games. Like, he wasn't there physically. It was just not uncommon with a guy he got hurt very end of January. So it was kind of a rushed recovery. Last year he played all 17 games. But it was kind of a mixed bag. Like, they didn't have a good pass rush last year in Kansas City. Chris Jones was about it. Karlaftis was okay, but he wasn't even as good as he normally is. They had a lot of injuries. And Omen, who I felt like last year, he had a down year. 3.5 sacks. He did have 13 quarterback hits. Which, quite honestly, when you look at those numbers, I got to be honest, watching the season, I was surprised by that. It didn't feel like he did that much. He can be a very disruptive player. He can be a very good player. But he, last season, didn't have as much juice. I'm wondering at this point, like, he's still not that old. I mean, he's only 28, he'll be 29 in August. So youth is still kind of on his side, but after that ACL, he has not been the same guy. I'll be curious to see if he can regain some of that explosion now that he's a couple of years removed from it.
Yeah, so, I mean, he is a diminished player since that injury. It's accurate to say that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and it's really unfortunate because when he was there in 2023, his first year in KC, he was excellent. I mean, he really genuinely was, like, other than Chris Jones, he was their best defensive lineman that season. He was terrific. And then he blew his knee out in that game against Baltimore, and he just hasn't that explosiveness that sometimes, like 2023, that was evident. He would constantly beat guys to spots. That hasn't happened the last couple of years. And I don't know whether or not that's just, it's an extended recovery, or it's just, hey, you know what? Unfortunately, some guys just don't recover from those things as well as you'd like it to see him. He's not been the same player since that knee injury.
So Charles Omen now is best used as a situational pass rusher. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's fair. Look, I still think he's a valuable player in that role. Like, he had 3.5 sacks last year. I could see him having 6 sacks, something like that. Like, I mean, his career high is 7. So I think probably ain't more than that. But yeah, I think he could have 5-6 sacks. And if you're Washington for what you're paying him, that's fine. Like, if you get 5-6 sacks, that's fine. But I think Chenal is the much more impactful player, which I think is also shown in the contracts. Like, Chenal is going to be, I think, a real plus player. I think he'll be a really good player for Washington. I think Omen, listen, you're trying to squeeze the last few sacks out of him, right? I mean, you're trying to get the last 5-6 sacks out of him before he may, hang it up or maybe have one more stop on him.
Charles Omen, who in August 2023 was suspended by the NFL for 6 regular season games without pay for violating the league's personal conduct policy. The suspension was for him in January 2023, being arrested on suspicion of misdemeanor domestic violence. Did you guys in Kansas City ever get a true handle on what happened in that situation, or is it still murky?
Yeah, it's murky. I mean, look, they knew he was going to get suspended when they signed him because that happened prior to him getting to Kansas City. When he was in Kansas City, there were no legal issues over the years when he was there. We served a 6-game suspension, came back from it. That there was nothing more than that. But that was something that when they signed him, they were aware of it, to my understanding. They knew that suspension was coming. I don't know if they knew it was 6 games, but they knew a suspension was coming. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it's an ugly alleged incident, and it's one of those things that you never know how those things play out. Some guys, there's one incident or allegation, and then that's it. Other guys, those types of things tend to be an ugly pattern. So I will say it hasn't happened since. I mean, that was something that was known that she signed them anyway, and in his 3 years in Kansas City, there were never any more allegations or anything like that.
Washington has the number 7 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. Kansas City has the number 9 overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. What do you think that the Chiefs are thinking at 9?
I think there's probably 3 positions that the Chiefs will look at. Not to say that there are only 3 positions they draft, but I think, look, if Cardinal Tate fell to the Chiefs, I think the Chiefs would take him and run out screaming in celebration. But I don't know that Cardinal Tate's going to get to the Chiefs. I would imagine Washington might have something to say about that if he gets there. Maybe Cleveland. Corner's another one that's really interesting. Mansour Delane, I think, is a guy that the Chiefs, look, they love corners that can play press man coverage. And Delane can play press man coverage about as well as anybody. They typically don't value corners that highly. Like, they usually draft guys later, but they've done it before. They drafted McDuffie in the first round. Now, he wasn't top 10, but they traded up in the first round to get him, and obviously that worked out. And then edge rush. I think if Bailey somehow got there, he's oddly like not really a fit for the way they play. They like bigger DNs, like a Karlaftis. Like, if Ruben Bain is there and they're comfortable with the arm length, I think they take Ruben Bain. If he's available at 9 and they're not scared off by the arm thing, Ruben Bain is like Steve Spagnuolo's dream. Beyond that, like, if those guys are all gone, then you start looking at, would they take Caleb Downs? Maybe. Like, they value the safety position quite a bit in Kansas City, but their room's not bad. They signed Elodie Gilman. They like Jamari Connor. And then right tackle. Like, I am somebody who thinks that they do not need to invest in right tackle. I can tell you most people in Kansas City feel like they should not draft the right tackle, although nationally that seems to be this big conversation. I don't think they'll take Fano just because they're huge on arm length with tackles, and Fano's arms are really short. Like, a lot of people think he might even kick inside. If Malago is there, I could see them doing that. But I think if Bain or Tate are sitting on that board, I think that they go one of those ways. I just think those are the 2 guys. Like, if they're there, unless they're freaked out by the arm length with Bain, I think it's one of those 2 guys if they're available.
As we are talking here via Zoom, I see that you're wearing a New Jersey Devils sweatshirt. You are, in fact, a Devils fan?
I'm not happy about it, but yeah.
Okay, so Washington Commanders managing partner Josh Harris is co-managing partner of the Devils. As a Devils fan, how do you evaluate Josh Harris as an owner of the Devils?
I mean, look, I think he's more involved in Washington's business. I'll say this for Harris. The Devils for years never spent any money. He spends money. Like, they have spent the money. Now, you could argue they spent it like fools, but they spent money. That's not on him. That's on their GM who doesn't know what the hell he's doing. But I think, like, that's an ownership group, to be fair, that I think is invested in them winning. Like, they have tried to win. And the Devils have had talent. The Devils, I mean, hell, they have Jack Hughes. They have Nico Hischier, all these guys. But they've had one issue after the next. They've made the playoffs some years. They've advanced. But it's always kind of been one thing after the next with them. But to be fair, as an owner, Harris has poured money into them, which for years was a problem. So I can't really say they're losing because of ownership. They're losing more because I think of just incompetence from the general manager.
I hear you. And the Devils do too. Devils managing partner David Blitzer on Monday evening announced that Executive Vice President / General Manager Tom Fitzgerald will depart the organization. Matt Verderame, host of the Matt Verderame Show, which is a very good Kansas City Chiefs podcast on Patreon. Matt, thanks. All the best.
Hey, thanks a lot, Al.
Yeah, Josh Harris is managing partner of the NFL's Washington Commanders, is co-managing partner of the NBA's Philadelphia 76ers, and is co-managing partner of the NHL's New Jersey Devils. So the purchase of the Commanders was finalized in July 2023. The purchase of the Sixers was finalized in October 2011, and the purchase of the Devils was finalized in August 2013. He has owned the Sixers and Devils for over a decade. Hey, whatever big event that you're planning, a wedding, a party, whatever, consider using a great sponsor of this podcast, cateringbyuptown.com. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Catering by Uptown is outstanding. It is a family business. It is run by the Pereiras, who are great Washington Commanders fans. Catering by Uptown is committed to meeting your every need with elegance and precision. Catering by Uptown takes care of every detail so that you can enjoy your event. And Catering by Uptown's specialty is weddings. Get excellent service at an affordable price. In fact, if you visit cateringbyuptown.com and click on venues, you could check out Catering by Uptown's premier wedding venues. Visit cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. That's cateringbyuptown.com and make sure that you mention that Al Galdi sent you. Well, the Washington Nationals now have played 10 games in MLB's 2026 regular season. 7 of the games have featured the winning team scoring at least 8 runs. That says a lot about the rebuilding Nats pitching having been a problem, but that stat also says a lot about the Nats offense, which overall has been good. A 9-6 win over the St. Louis Cardinals at Nationals Park on Monday evening in Game 1 of a 3-game series. This was a game in which the Nats overcame a 6-3 eighth-inning deficit by scoring 6 runs in the bottom of the 8th. The Nats snapped a 5-game losing streak, improved to 4-6. The Nats over 10 games have a team OPS of 809. This team, despite having restarted or rebuild, is hitting. And the offense on Monday evening came through big time. And it wasn't just what, it was who. The Nats in this game were great offensively. 9 runs, 12 hits, which were 3 home runs, 4 doubles, and 5 singles, 7 walks, 5 for 12 with runners in scoring position. And regarding that 6-run 8th, James Wood, Brady House, and C.J. Abrams all homered in the 6-run 8th. The 3 most important position players for the Nats at the major league level right now, each guy homered in the 6-run 8th. James Wood, he is the Nats starting right fielder and number 1 batter, went 2 for 3 with a 3-run homer, a single, and 2 walks, and he made a spectacular defensive play. Wood, in the Nats 6-run 8th, had a 1-out, 3-run homer to center field to tie the game at 6, despite having been down in the count at 1.12. The homer per StatCast went a projected 409 feet and had an exit velocity of 114.3 miles per hour. Wood, in the Nats 2-run first, had a leadoff opposite field single through the left side of the infield to shortstop Mason Wynn in shallow left field. The single had an exit velocity of 104.3 miles per hour per StatCast. And Wood, in the top of the 4th, made an outstanding running, leaping, home run robbing catch while going toward the right field corner for a 1-out flyout by Nolan Gorman. Wood crashed into the outfield wall, but held onto the ball for the putout. And perhaps best of all, the normally stoic James Wood smiled after making this catch. Here was the call on Nationals.tv. Dan Kolko, Kevin Franzen, and Ryan Zimmerman.
Great way to start his evening.
In the air to right, James Wood going with it into the corner. Did he bring it back? He did! Almost 6'6" to the big right fielder over the wall to rob a homer and keep the Nats on top 2-0.
And everyone else needs to jump up to give high fives. He just reaches up. What a play.
Look at that smile.
He went so far to get that ball, too.
Now, this is not that impressive if you're Joe Adell, but for us, this is amazing. Oh, my. Because the timing on that.
Yeah, what a play by James Wood, but is he now on track? Wood had been struggling, but he now has hit a 3-run homer in each of the Nats' last 2 games. We, during Nats manager Blake Butera's postgame press conference on Monday night, had these exchanges regarding James Wood.
What did you think was more impressive, hitting a home run or robbing a home run?
If you ask him, he'll probably say robbing the home run. I'm not sure how many times he's done that. He sure has hit a lot of them. But the way he hit that home run, too, was pretty impressive off Stanek like that.
Psychologically, what do you think a day like today does for him and does for the team?
It's huge. It really is. I think, and this is just a credit to our guys for they've played this way all along. Like, they haven't given up. That's the thing, is like they find ways to scratch runs across whatever inning it might be. And this easily could have been one of those games where it's like the 8th inning rolls around and it's like, here we go again, but then they fight back and they find a way to pull this one out and get us back on track. I think it's huge. It's really big.
All right, and we later, during the Blake Butera postgame press conference on Monday night, had this exchange regarding James Wood.
I know you focus a lot on the day-to-day in this job. When you think about James, though, and kind of not just the player he is now, but the player he can become, what does a day like today tell you about the sort of player he can become?
Yeah, I think it's been our message to James all along. Like, everyone knows the type of hitter he is. Everyone knows the power he has. But a lot of our message to him has been, like, the defense, too, right? Working on the defense and making sure he's an all-around really good player. He's still so young. We don't want him just to get labeled as just a hitter. Like, he's so athletic. Sometimes you don't realize how fast he can run because his strides are so long. But to cover the ground like he did and rob that home run, like, that's another reminder for James. Like, you have a chance to be one of the best all-around players in baseball.
Yes, he does. Brady House, he is the Nats starting third baseman and number 3 batter, went 3 for 5 with a 2-run homer and 2 doubles. House in the Nats 6-run 8th had a 1-out first pitch, 2-run homer to center field for an 8-6 Nats lead. The homer per StatCast went a projected 423 feet and had an exit velocity of 110 miles per hour. And House in the bottom of the 7th had a leadoff full count double to left field. Now, he did get thrown out at home by Cardinals left fielder Thomas Saggese on a 7-2 double play and tagging up from third base on a flyout by C.J. Abrams. Blake Butera challenged the call of out at home, but the call of out was upheld. But Brady House for this regular season now has an OPS of 983, and he's doing some good things defensively at a premium defensive position in third base. We, during Blake Butera's postgame press conference on Monday night, had these exchanges regarding Brady House.
What did you think about Brady House and the way he kind of built up throughout the night? His at-bats were really, really good, and then the home run at the end.
Unbelievable. And his defense. Yeah. Like, the diving play to his right, saving a run there, like the play to his left. All-around outstanding game from Brady, but just pretty, it's hard to describe how impressive it was, what he did. And some tough right-on-right matchups, too, where he hit the home run and double and just couldn't be more impressed with Brady, especially a kid that young.
I know you've only seen him in person here since spring training, but can you sense how big of a leap he's kind of taken from what his approach was at the plate last year?
Yeah, it's been huge to see, and I know it's only been 10 games, so we need to make sure this continues throughout the year. But just what he's done, he's really a credit to him. He's really he dove into what we shared with him, what we thought could help him make that next step, and he's really worked at it every single day.
Okay, and C.J. Abrams, he is the Nats starting shortstop and number 5 batter, went 1 for 4 with a solo homer and a walk. Abrams in that Nats 6-run 8th had a 2-out first pitch solo homer to right field for a 9-6 Nats lead. C.J. Abrams for this regular season now has an OPS of 1,019. James Wood, Brady House, C.J. Abrams, 3 ultra-key players in the Nats rebuild. Although, yes, Abrams is a trade candidate because of where he's at contractually, but 3 ultra-key players in the Nats rebuild, and each guy homered in the Nats 6-run 8th. Also with the Nats offense in this game, Nasim Nunez, who pretty clearly has become the Nats number 1 second baseman. He is the Nats starting second baseman and number 6 batter, went 1 for 5 with an RBI single and a stolen base. Nunez in the Nats 2-run first had a 2-out first pitch RBI single to center field for a 2-0 Nats lead, and he had a 2-out steal of second base. And Jacob Young, he is the Nats starting center fielder and number 9 batter, went 1 for 3 with an RBI double. Young in the Nats 1-run 6th had a 2-out RBI double to left field on a 1-2 pitch to tie the game at 3, as he did a nice job of pulling a changeup that was down and away. The Nats starting pitcher in this 9-6 win over the Cardinals at Nationals Park on Monday evening was Zach Littell, and he did well. He allowed 1 run in 5 innings with 6 strikeouts, gave up 4 hits, which were a double and 3 singles. He did issue 3 walks. He threw 70 pitches, 44 strikes, 26 balls. Littell in the top of the 5th allowed a run on a double, 2 walks, and a fielder's choice grounder, but he otherwise looked good. March 10th was when the Nats announced having signed Littell as a free agent, signed him to a 1-year contract with a mutual option for the 2027 season. So he still has been with the Nats for less than a month. His first outing of this regular season came in relief of an opener, a reliever P.J. Poulin, this in the Nats 3-2 loss at the Philadelphia Phillies last Tuesday evening, March 31st. Littell in that game allowed 3 runs in 5 innings. Littell on Monday evening allowed 1 run in 5 innings with 6 strikeouts. The Nats relief pitcher pitching in this 9-6 win over the Cardinals at Nationals Park on Monday evening was not good. The bullpen clearly is a problem, but the Nats did win. 3 Nats relievers combined to allow 5 runs in 4 innings. Ken Waldichuk allowed 3 runs in 2 and a third innings. He, in the top of the 6th, allowed 2 runs as he gave up a 1-out, 2-run homer by Ramon Urias, the former Baltimore Oriole, to center field for a 3-2 Cardinals lead. The homer winner projected 414 feet per StatCast. Waldichuk did then toss a perfect top of the 7th, despite facing the Cardinals numbers 1 through 3 batters. But Waldichuk, in the top of the 8th, gave up a leadoff opposite field homer by Jordan Walker to right field for a 4-3 Cardinals lead. Andre Granillo allowed 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. He and the Cardinals' 3-run 8th allowed 2 runs as he gave up a double, a single, and 2 walks. So the Nats, after the game, announced having optioned Granillo to AAA Rochester. But Ciano Perez tossed a scoreless top of the 9th, despite giving up a 1-out single and issuing a 1-out wild pitch. But good to see Perez toss that scoreless top of the 9th off his disastrous outing in the Nats' 8-6 loss to the Los Angeles Dodgers at Nationals Park on Easter Sunday. Perez in that game officially allowed 4 runs without recording an out. A really nice win for the Nats on Monday night. Some more from Blake Buterra's postgame press conference on Monday night.
What do you see in the dugout when James comes back, when Brady comes back, and when CJ comes back in?
A lot of smiles, a lot of yelling, a lot of just good energy, and guys like fired up, genuinely fired up for each other. And I think the cool thing too is when you see guys like, we pinch hit a lot, we make a lot of different moves. The guys that are getting pinch hit for that might be out of the game are some of the first ones that are up there celebrating their teammates. And that just goes to show the culture we have in there, the team that we're building. They're just so selfless and really care about each other, and it makes those big moments that much more fun.
Like a lot of Nets fans, see James Wood as this kind of stoic guy. Do you see a lot more smiles than maybe us just kind of watching from afar?
After the home runs, for sure, and when he robbed the home run too. Yeah, no, it's hard to get out of him sometimes. I think that's what makes him great too. He's just so even keel. But yeah, to see him open up like that, even though he said he feels fine, and he's obviously was going through a bit of a rough stretch. To see him make that play in right field, to see him hit that big home run, see him with the smiles, you always feel great seeing that.
All right, Game 2 for the Nats against the Cardinals at Nationals Park, Tuesday evening at 6:45. Cade Cavalli will be the Nats starting pitcher.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
Another injury for the Baltimore Orioles, but also a much-needed win, a 2-1 win at the Chicago White Sox on Monday night in Game 1 of a 3-game series. The O's now are 4-6 in MLB's 2026 regular season, but the O's on Monday afternoon announced having placed reliever Dietrich Enns on the 15-day injured list, retroactive to April 4th, due to a left foot infection. Each of the following Orioles players is on an injured list now. Third baseman/second baseman Jordan Westberg, second baseman Jackson Holliday, outfielder Heston Kjerstad, starting pitcher Zach Eflin, and relievers Andrew Kittredge, Keegan Aiken, Dietrich Enns, Yarmil Geraldo, Felix Bautista, and Colin Selby. A lot of key guys on injured lists. The Orioles starting pitcher in this 2-1 win at the White Sox on Monday night was Brandon Young. The O's on Monday afternoon announced having recalled Young from AAA Norfolk. This is Young's age 27 season. The O's acquired him via signing him to a minor league contract in June 2020. Young at the major league level in the 2025 regular season, appeared in 12 games, all starts, but he struggled. ERA a 6.24, whip of 154, and he dealt with injury. The O's this past August 22nd announced having placed Young on the 15-day injured list due to a left hamstring strain, and the team last August 27th announced having transferred Young to the 60-day injured list. But Brandon Young on Monday night was good. He tossed 5 scoreless innings. He gave up just 2 hits, each of which was a single. He issued 2 walks and a wild pitch. He recorded 2 strikeouts. He threw 66 pitches, 39 strikes, 27 balls. Nice work by Brandon Young in this spot start, and a very needed good outing by an Orioles starting pitcher. Their starting pitching so far this regular season has been really disappointing. Here was O's manager Craig Albernaz during his postgame session with reporters on Monday night on Brandon Young.
Yeah, it was awesome. He set that big for us to give us 5 innings, not giving up any runs was huge. He went right up to his pitch count as well, so no, it worked out great. He threw the ball well for us, kept us in the game. Like, just could say a lot of things about Brandon Young right now, but that was outstanding what he did today.
Yes, it was. The Orioles relief pitching in this 2-1 win at the White Sox on Monday night overall was good, but the closer again struggled. 3 Orioles relievers combined to allow 1 run in 4 innings. Tyler Wells was good. He tossed 2 scoreless innings with 2 swinging strikeouts. Rico Garcia was good. He tossed a perfect bottom of the 8th, but Ryan Helsley allowed 1 run in 1 inning. He did get the save, but he began the bottom of the 9th by issuing back-to-back walks, allowed the run on a 1-out RBI groundout, and gave up a 2-out single. The first out in that bottom of the 9th came via first baseman Pete Alonso making a diving stop for a groundout with runners on first and second, and the O's clinging to a 2-0 lead. But Ryan Helsley in the Orioles' 3-2 walk-off loss at the Pittsburgh Pirates this past Saturday allowed 1 run in a third of an inning. Here in the bottom of the 9th, allowed a run on 2 doubles and an intentional walk, including a 1-out walk-off full-count RBI double by Nick York to left field over the head of left fielder Dylan Beavers, who failed in an attempt at a leaping backhanded catch. We, during Craig Albernaz's post-game session with reporters on Monday night, had these exchanges regarding this latest outing for Ryan Helsley.
I think you would say that Pete Alonso is probably an underrated first baseman. How key was that play in the 9th inning?
It was crucial. Pete's defense has been better than we expected, and that's a credit to him and the work he's been putting in. But yeah, that play down the line, that's not an easy play, and great job by Helsley because he was on top of first base. He didn't break late. It was outstanding play all around.
Kind of a message to Helsley with just the lack of command early, a couple of walks to kind of settle down there towards the end. I don't know the message. What did the mound visit for Helsley? Like what?
Oh.
You kind of want from him?
Yeah, sorry. No, it looked like he was, the first bat of the first 3 pitches, he's going leg kick. He self-regulated and went slide step to kind of organize a little better, and it worked out. He had some issues with the footing of the mound, which is common for closers because they're the last one to touch the mound. No, but he did a great job of just pounding the strike zone. I think it's him just dealing with the cold and then kind of getting loose and stuff. So, but no, it was great to see him settle in and get the save.
And he did get the save. The Orioles' offense in this 2-1 win at the White Sox on Monday night was not good. Just 2 runs, just 7 hits, which were a home run, a double, and 5 singles. Just 1 walk, 0 for 4 with runners in scoring position. The White Sox used an opener, but their bulk pitcher was former Washington National starting pitcher Eric Fetty. He allowed 2 runs in 6 innings. Our last segment discussed how well the Nats are doing offensively so far this regular season. The O's are not doing well offensively so far this regular season. Team OPS of just .681. The Nats have 14 home runs. The O's have just 7 home runs. Did get one on Monday night. Gunnar Henderson, he is the Orioles starting shortstop and number 2 batter, went 1 for 4 with a solo homer. Did strike out 3 times, but Henderson in the Orioles 1-run 6th had a leadoff homer to right field for a 2-0 Orioles lead. We, during Craig Albernaz's post-game session with reporters on Monday night, had this exchange regarding Gunnar Henderson.
What makes Gunnar Henderson so special for this lineup?
A lot, but like today in particular, I mean, the first 2 at-bats, he strikes out, and next thing you know, if they're at-bat, puts one in the seats. And that's with Gunnar, where he doesn't get too high or too low. he shows his frustration, but he's never out of the game, never mentally out of it. And you always know when he's up there, he's locked into that at bat, never getting at bats away. So I call him an aircraft carrier. That's kind of what he is. And not to mention the ability that he's shown at shortstop. Like he's an elite defender, and a couple of those balls today had some gnarly spin going to him at shortstop, and he handled them well.
Gunnar Henderson for this regular season now has an OPS of 792. He's doing well. Also doing well is Taylor Ward. He is the Orioles starting left fielder and number one batter. Went 1 for 4 with a double. Ward for this regular season has an OPS of 875. The three regular Orioles position players who are hitting so far are Henderson, Ward, and catcher Adley Rutschman. But that's it. The offense needs to get going. Game 2 for the O's at the White Sox. Tuesday afternoon at 3:10. Trevor Rogers will be the Orioles starting pitcher. The White Sox on Monday afternoon announced having moved up the start time of Tuesday's game from 7:40 p.m. Eastern to 3:10 p.m. Eastern. This quote, due to a forecast of cold temperatures, end quote. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Wednesday's show, episode 1298, will include a lot for you on the Washington Commanders. Also on Wednesday's show, I'll talk Washington Wizards, Washington Nationals, and Baltimore Orioles. The Wizards are home to the Chicago Bulls Tuesday night at 7. The Nats are home to the St. Louis Cardinals Tuesday evening at 6:45 for Game 2 of a 3-game series. The O's are at the Chicago White Sox Tuesday afternoon at 3:10 for Game 2 of a 3-game series. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I'll talk to you on Wednesday.
Mariota.